I've lived in just about every project that you could think about here. So on occasion, I'll ride through. These projects that I grew up in, they still look the same from when I was a kid. But there's buildings going up everywhere, and there's places for the students to move in, and there's new companies going up and restaurants going up. But these neighborhoods are getting rejected and neglected. So we got to go in those places because those people don't know about this. So if we want to strike some type of change, we actually have to go in and affect the people. It's the hood, and I know the hood has a bad projection of being negative and crime-filled, but these are people just like us. And I grew up in these places. And there's things that I had to do as a kid that I didn't want to do. But when you're faced with poverty and you're faced with a lot of other different things, it puts you in a certain situation. These people need to hear this. These people need to see you because we don't think nobody cares about us. And that's the truth. It's predominantly white people here for something that most black people deal with. You know what I'm saying? And nobody knows. So if we want to do something great, we got to start marching into these neighborhoods, knocking on doors and talking to people. Because they don't know. When we can get these people on board, then we can really start moving. We can really start doing things. I just want to say that.
Where they stayed for 6 weeks in the spring of 1968. The Poor People's Campaign was motivated by a desire for economic justice, the idea that all people should have what they need to live: job, health care, fair housing, fair education. King and the SCLC shifted their focus to these issues after observing that gains in civil rights had not improved the material conditions of life for many African Americans. This fight for civil rights is not enough. It is not enough. Georgia doesn't even have a civil rights code. I wonder if y'all know that. The same thing that Martin Luther King was fighting for, Georgia doesn't have. So that is why we have a difficult time with stopping discrimination in Georgia. That Confederate statue over there, that's a part of the problem because they uphold a certain type of mentality. You understand? We have to do something. It is early in the morning. Believe me, I did not want to get up this morning and do this. But I decided that, listen, if I'm not going to go to Washington, D.C. and march with Reverend Barbara Williams, then I have to do something here in this community because we're the 4th poorest county and we keep asking for help. You understand? The poverty is tied to a lot of our issues. You're talking about gangs. You're talking about kids falling through the crack. You're talking about homeless people begging on the streets. You're talking about systemic racism, systemic discrimination. Poverty is tied to all of that. And until we stand up as a community and put our differences aside, let me tell you, everybody gonna suffer. You are one paycheck away. If you turned on the news, you are one paycheck away of being homeless. You understand? I've been homeless right here in Athens, Clark County for the first time in my life. It is difficult to find housing in Athens, Clark County. They have more housing available and easier for students to move into these housing than people that live here. I've lived in a hotel in Athens, Clark County, not because I didn't have the credit, because I couldn't find housing to meet my income, and I have a master's degree. I did what they said as far as the American dream: go to school, get a high education. I got a higher debt. And because I'm black, I can't not move up the corporate ladder and make 6 figures. So, even though I've done certain things to pursue the American dream and live the right way, it didn't work out quite well for me. And right here in Athens, Clark County, a few years ago, I was homeless. We didn't have any family here. We couldn't turn to no one. Nobody wanted to help you. You don't have enough services around here, especially when you have children. You don't have enough of services around here to help you. So I'm not just here today just to be here today. I live lived it. And those things changed my life. And that is why I fight. I don't fight because I'm rich. I don't fight because I have the time. I don't fight because I don't have kids to take care of. When you see me standing here, I'm fighting for humanity as a whole, for us to have a better future, for us as a whole, for this bull crap to stop, for this to change. So that when my grandbaby comes to Athens, he can go into any club that he wants to. I don't have health insurance. You understand? It's real. The struggle is real. So when you see me out here, just understand I'm a part of the struggle. And I'm fighting for what's right, and I'm going to continue to fight. And that's what our organization is about. So now we're going to march to City Hall because it's hot. It's really hot. I'm sweating right now. So we're going to march to City Hall, and then we're going to have some performances. We're going to have some guest speakers. You know, Shane Sims, thank you for coming out. Give it up for Shane Sims, chaplain of the ACCPD. Give it up for Issues. Issues is out here. You know what I'm saying? He's a local hip-hop artist. One of the local celebrities. Squale, give it up for Squale. He's out here. Everybody's out here. Melissa Link, Commissioner Melissa Link. Deborah Gonzalez, Congresswoman Deborah Gonzalez. I'm calling these people out because I'm sick and tired of seeing congressmen and women sit up behind the rail and they never standing with us when we're in the fight, but they're making decisions for us. How can you make a decision for me when you're not walking with me? How can you make a decision for me when you don't live what I live and you won't even come into my community to see what's going on? How? Give it up for Adam, A for E in the building. Avita Thornton, give it up for Avita Thornton. Grady Martin, give it up for Grady Martin. Diversity Task Team Chairman. I'm trying to make sure we get this thing right.
Don Johnson's here, running for 47.
Say, Don Johnson, 47. Anybody else that I'm missing? April, Libertarian Party. So I just want you to recognize on a hot summer day, Athens going on. We got immigration issues, all kind of problems going on.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. Poverty tied to the immigration issue too. These people trying to run for a better life because they suffering.
Yes.
And then when they try to come in, we just tear their families apart.
Yes.
Come on.
You understand?
Yes.
And if we have enough money for ourselves, we can empower ourselves to situate our own problems and our own situation. I'm just tired. I'm tired.
Yes.
Adam, come on. You gonna go? Just go ahead and set up because I'm tired and I'm out. All right.
We're marching now?
Yeah, we're marching.
Yeah, so when I was teaching in Atlanta,
Ain't no power like the power of the people, for the power of the people don't stop.
For jobs and education, not for war and incarceration. Money for jobs and...
So now I want to give it up to Reverend Robert Foster. This movement, the Poor People Campaign, is led William Barber. Thank y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all. So it is led by spiritual leaders. So we wanted to make sure we had that voice present here today. So give it up to Pastor Robert Foster.
Never give a pastor a microphone and say you have 5 minutes, but I'm going to do my very best. As Shane and I were talking earlier about the skewed demographics here, right? That oftentimes when we have these campaigns, there are the white people outnumber the people that are actually involved in the struggle. And at the same time, you should be very disappointed that there are not more white people out here today. You should be disappointed that there are not more white Christians out here today. That we need to rally those people. My people are not here. And we, as William Stringfellow wrote back in the 1960s, my people are the problem. My people are the problem. I want to give you 3 factors. Lots of this you don't know, and I know I've got my work cut out for me, reaching out to the people that need to be here today. But let me tell you 3 things that are really a problem right now. First of all, some of you know the name Andy Stanley. He preaches at North Point Congregation, Atlanta. They have congregations affiliated with their vision and mission across the United States, from Washington to Maine. And several months ago, he preached in a sermon that we should unhitch ourselves as Christians from the Old Testament. And I think that's a mighty convenient thing for a white evangelical preacher to say, because it's the Old Testament that tells us the most about the call for justice. So when Martin Luther King is preaching the I Have a Dream speech and says that justice should roll down like waters and righteousness like a never-ending stream, he's quoting the Old Testament. He's quoting Amos, who judges the community because they trample the heads of the poor into the ground. We cannot throw out the Old Testament and throw out the vision for justice for the poor that is inherent in that message. So that's our number 1 problem, in my opinion. Our second problem, and again, my people are not here today to listen to this, so I don't have to figure out where I'm saying this somewhere else. But the second problem is that we've defined love in very weak terms. Christians love the word love. We love this word agape, and we like to say it's about unconditional love. And I don't want to say that that's not what it's about, but we need a different definition of love, because when Jesus ran into a rich young person who said, how can I inherit eternal life? I'm keeping all the commandments since I was a kid. The Gospels say that Jesus looked at the man and loved him. And what did he tell him? Sell everything you have and give to the poor. Woo! All right, so if you want some love from Jesus, you better be careful what you're asking for. Now, full disclosure, I've not sold all my property and given it to the poor. But let me tell you the other side of that. Every time I read that passage, I don't dismiss it. I don't dismiss the love of the gospel. The love of the gospel calls us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And unless we've actually given everything away, we are not loving our neighbor as ourselves. The gospel of Jesus Christ is a gospel of love. It's a gospel that demands for us to look at ourselves and ask us, what do we possess that we could actually give away? Because we are greedy. That is a message in Scripture, if there's ever one I've heard about it. And if we don't get over our white middle-class greed and be thinking about how our consumption is keeping other people from having opportunities, we're never going to make progress on this campaign.
That's right.
The third thing that I think is really important that white people like me need to take care of at this very moment is we got to quit making Martin Luther King a saint and get him back to being a prophet. Martin Luther King is not a white people's saint. Martin Luther King is a black people's prophet. We all want to hear those last couple minutes of Martin Luther King's speeches, right? We want him to come and say, I have a dream, right? That one day white people and black people and Hispanics and Jews and Gentiles and all God's children will hold their hands together. But we forget that the March on Washington was a march on Washington for jobs and freedom. And when Martin Luther King earlier in that speech said, we came to this sacred spot because of the urgency of the now. We live in the urgency of the now. Martin Luther King is not telling us everything is okay. Martin Luther King is not telling us that we've resolved the problems of civil rights. Martin Luther King's voice needs to reach to us into this present moment as the word of a prophet that tells us as the people of God that we have to care for the poor. And we got to get out of our charity model. This is not about charity. It's about partnering together. It's about giving people opportunities for work, opportunities for fair housing, opportunities for a full life. We got to quit giving money away. We got to start working on how we help people find jobs, how we help people have the educational opportunities that they should have in this county. We got to quit throwing people into prison for misdemeanors. We have messed up the system. It's our responsibility. And I want a Poor People's Campaign where the proportion of the people who come out is actually as it is in our county. And that there are enough white middle-class Christians who are taking seriously the call of the Old Testament to let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an everlasting stream, who really understand the call of agape to give ourselves away, and who understand that Martin Luther King is not a white person's saint, he's a black person's prophet. And unless we get ourselves together on those agendas, this movement's not going to go anywhere. And so I will make it my mission, since I'm standing up here today, to make sure that that message keeps getting out. Because we need more of the white community and white Christians to really take the call of the gospel, the call of their scriptures, and the call of Martin Luther King more seriously every day, because this is the moment, this is the urgency of now. Today is the day that we've got to take this all seriously. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank y'all for being here. And I want to say thank you to Mika for bringing up housing, because that is huge, y'all. Yes. It is getting near impossible for regular working folks to put a roof over their heads in Athens, Georgia. Yes. Or if they're putting a roof over their heads, they can't afford to feed and clothe their kids. They can't afford to live life as normal Americans. You know, go out to eat once in a while, maybe take your family to the beach for the weekend. Folks can't afford that anymore. We've got these gleaming towers popping up all over our downtown area. And I don't know anybody who can afford to move into them. We've got a university, it's the largest employer in Athens, Clarke County, that refuses to commit to a living wage for their lowest paid employees. Yes! I'm one of those. And we've got a student population. We've got an extremely wealthy student population. Yes. The demographics of that student population, I believe now 60% of UGA students come from families in the top 20% income bracket. So that means that those kids, 60% of the kids at UGA are from families that are making $130,000 a year or more. The median household income in Athens, Clarke County is $32,000. Half of the households in Athens, Clarke County are living on $32,000 a year. The median home price now is $200,000 a year. Half of those folks can't afford to live to buy a home of their own in Athens, Clarke County. Housing is a crisis. It's a crisis across the nation, and it's a crisis here. It used to be that it was pretty easy to live on minimum wage. I mean, I did it in Athens for over a decade. You know, work a couple minimum wage jobs, your rent was like $300 or $400 a month. You could pull it off, and you know, but that's not the case anymore. And it's changed our culture. You know, it's not only the impoverished, but it's that creative culture that put this town on the map. They're disappearing. And so we need to fight hard to change that. We need to fight hard to make sure that housing is available. And there is a long, long list of policies and tools that we need to enact to make that happen. Our working class neighborhoods are being gentrified with students and with wealthy upper middle class folks. You know, and when those folks move into low income neighborhoods, where do the low income folks go? It's a domino effect. And we need to stave it up. And yes, racial poverty is a thing. It is for real. The vast majority of the impoverished folks in Athens, Clarke County are black and brown people. And we need to face that head on. And when I try and talk about this in public meetings, live on camera, behind the rail, I get accused of vilifying white people. I get told that if I don't like the way we do things around here, maybe I need to go somewhere else and get elected.
Stay here.
It's on camera, y'all.
We need you.
So, last month, folks in this town turned out in unprecedented numbers for a local election and elected a new government. Yeah! I'm about to get some help. Yes! So, but y'all can't go away. We need the voices of the people constantly needling us, constantly whispering in our ear, screaming on the steps of this building to tell us what we're doing and what we need to do. We need folks to step up and volunteer to be part of these boards and committees. I hope with a new mayor, we'll have a mayor who will actually appoint citizen committees to create new policy that impacts actual citizens. So we need people who are gonna need to step up and be part of that policy-making process, show up, speak out, and take charge of your local government. This is your local government. We work for you.
Right.
And I know these are dark times. I mean, what's going on in DC is unconscionable. It is amoral. That UN report on poverty is shameful. In this country, the richest country in the world, that so many people suffer, and the people in charge just want them to suffer more. It's cruel and it's deliberate. You know, this week we all watched an outrage of babies, little children were put in cages. And there's so much outrage to be had, and you know, we're calling our congressman and posting on social media, and we know it's useless. We know they don't care. In the meantime, they're passing budgets that gut Social Security and Medicare, that will thrust thousands of millions of old people into poverty. Even more. I mean, I don't know where I'm going to be in 20 or 30 years when I no longer can work. I don't know if there's going to be any social support system there for me, and I'm in a pretty good place. I own my home in a neighborhood where the values have gone up. But that is not the case for many of my friends, and that is not the case for most of Athens Clarke County. So we need to focus on getting people to the polls. That's where it is. Like, we need to change the system. The system needs to change. We still have democracy, and don't think that it's a permanent thing, because that can go away. I mean, they're whittling away at that too. So y'all, make sure that you're registered to vote. Make sure you know where your polling place is. Make sure you know who your elected officials are, and talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers, talk to your family members. You know, people say it's impolite to talk about politics. It is not impolite. It is essential. Don't be afraid to start a conversation in the line at the grocery store and remind someone that election day is coming up, or the deadline to register to vote is coming up, or tell them who they need to vote for. And get out there. I'll be holding some get out the vote events and knocking on some doors, and especially in low-income apartment complexes, to make sure folks are registered, to make sure they know that election day is coming up. Because we have got to flip Congress. We have got to change the system. We have got to break it down and rebuild it from the ground up. Yes!
We don't get it, shut it down. We don't get it,
shut it down.
We don't get it,
shut it down.
We don't get it,
shut it down.
If we don't get it,
shut it down.
So I'm just going to do an acapella with no beat, so I hope y'all enjoy it, alright? I got this track called Proclamation. It's off my album Black Picasso that I released last year. And Proclamation is just about us as a people being united. So I have this quote: one finger won't change anything, but a fist will strike a change on the world. This is not just the black fist, this is the fist for the people.
That's right.
This stopped being the black fist a long time ago. This is a fist for the people. This is not just limited to black people, this is for us.
That's right.
Alright? We gotta stop living within black and white. We gotta live within the gray. We can't be black and white. We gotta learn how to function within the gray. Because we're all people, right? So I hope y'all enjoy this song. It's been 5 years and we still haven't stopped. We're still prisoners, still getting killed by these cops. Even if we put our hands up, we'll gun down if we stand up. They'll never ever understand us. We gotta play D, gotta man up and protect us. Just us, because we don't never get just us. So if we have to be unjust, we will, so they can't touch us. United we stand. United we fight. United we take our lands. United we can be uplifted. We can really make a difference in our hoods, in our school. I want my 40 acres and a mule. If we all fight, then how can we lose? We've been brainwashed and confused, falsely accused, and abused. This is my proclamation. It's time for us to stop being patient. If we want freedom, then we got to take it, or else we would not have a bit of dignity left. We've been taught to go right so much that we're afraid to go left. And we're afraid to face death, even though we ain't never been living. And if we don't take back our hoods, then we're going to lose all our children. Because we was never meant to have it from the start. America don't care about your broken heart. And America don't care about her murdered friends. And America don't care about our stolen dreams. You see, this is my proclamation across the nation. I'm tired of waiting. I can't be patient. This is my proclamation. My proclamation. Look, see, as a kid I used to dream that life ain't what it seems. that a little dude from the ghetto could be on the TV screen without committing no murders and without selling no keys. We perceive that what we see is our only reality, and it ain't. And I hate to supply with different opinions, but the truth is that success is open to whoever get it, and I promise that I can never miss it or dismiss it. If I'm blessed to get my ticket, I will probably board the plane to my redemption. Regardless of the hurts and pains, I got to stay true to my mission. It's things in my life that I made excuses for, but your mind is only a waste if you don't use it for the rights. Forget the wrongs, just be strong enough to live and fight. Another day of all the things that you believe in. Equality is there, but you can't make time for bereavement. Can't nobody cut your throat if they ain't close enough to reach it. I'm Squally, y'all. Thank y'all.